Today's tune is a Kawasaki Versys 1000 2014 model. We're making a few change. Client wants the fan to come on earlier. He wants us to tune the fueling. He wants to keep the catalytic converter in. So we have teed in our O2 just before the catalytic converter there so we can sample, and we've removed the stock O2 sensor for now, just for the pre-run, and then we will disable it with the Woolich flash. Yeah, the bike's totally stock except for the end can you see there, which is a Delta. Yeah, and yeah, that's basically it. Let's see what she does. Okay, so this is where we're at. It is quite rich on top. You can see here, sort of like 12s, 11s. So that's a little bit too rich for naturally aspirated. Final power specs was 115.2 horsepower and 101.6 newtons. Nice smooth curve, revs up quick, but I'm sure we can get it better. So you can see here around 5,000 how snatchy the throttle is because of, if you can see my cursor, this situation here. And they normally do that because of the emission laws. That's where they do their testing. So what we do is, I've already made a map. So we just paste that into here. And then you can see how nice and smooth it is compared. So now it's nice and progressive, the throttle's open sooner, it's more aggressive on acceleration, which means more air into the motor. So we'll smooth that out with the fueling and the timing. And basically we've got to do that in every gear. So you can see it's totaled in those gears. Let me just place that in. So this is the one I made. So I don't want it to be too aggressive, so it comes on nice and slow. And then obviously opens a lot quicker to full throttle. Also, just to note, this horsepower reading of 115 and 101 is on the back wheels. A lot of times the manufacturers quote crank power. So you'll see this value being plus 15 horsepower or something on top of it, but it doesn't cater for transmission losses, which is obviously like your gearbox, clutch, length of swing arm, chain, tire, the drag on the dyno. It doesn't cater for any of that. So the dyno works out from your crankshaft to your back wheel. It loads before you start the run, and it calculates a rear wheel power reading. So as you start your run, it adds load, it works out the transmission losses, and that's your end result. Although on this bike, I'll say that the manufacturers are claiming 118 horsepower and 102 Newton meters. So we're pretty damn obviously that being a new bike with low K, well, no Ks, and the motor's just been built, and that's where they make their specs. So over time the castings pick up, build up, and the motors are not exactly the spec that they started off with. That's how I understand it. So yeah, I mean they just manufacture the bike. So the castings you'll find are rough inside, and that's where blueprinting and all this. Anyway, we won't get into that. But yeah, that's basically the story. Okay, we're finally doing our first write. Managed to get the ECU out there. Quite a nightmare. You've got to strip out all these brackets and things like that. We've blanked the pair valve, which sits under this cover, and the O2 sensor is bypassed. So that's all done. So we're just busy with the write now, and then we will see what our base power is. so all tuned up and done. Let's see the after run. Okay, so you can see we've got a decent top end gain there. The power specs have gone up from 115 to 121, and the torque from 101 Newton meters to 105. Obviously it would make a little bit more power if the bike was cooler at the temperature where we ran it, but the client's in a hurry to pick this one up, so got to call it. Yeah, so that's pretty decent. We've got to gain the whole way up the range, more so at the top. We've raised the limiter 500 RPMs, and we've tuned the fueling out to about 13 to 1, but on top we sort of run at about 12.9 just in case fuel pump blocks up or something like that. But yeah.